Over to you,
So
Eric.
that's my cue, the recording in progress. Well, thanks for the invite, Zena. And I think, can you just confirm that you actually can see my screen? Yeah, good. All right. So as an introduction, I think I would let AI speak for itself and introduce myself.
Welcome everyone to this exciting workshop. Today we are going to explore how generative AI could transform your workday. With over 2 decades of experience in the tech industry, Eric Paquin stands at the forefront of innovation and artificial intelligence. As an innovation manager, Eric has spearheaded numerous projects that integrate cutting-edge AI technologies into practical applications, enhancing user experiences and business strategies. A thought leader in design thinking, Eric's approach to AI is deeply human-centric, focusing on how these technologies can solve real-world problems and improve lives. His educational background with a Master of Science in Product Management from Technological University Dublin has provided him with a robust foundation in strategic innovation. Eric's insights into AI are shaped by his extensive experience as a speaker and lecturer, where he has shared his knowledge on global stages, elucidating complex concepts with clarity and enthusiasm. His work on integrating generative AI into the design thinking process is a testament to his expertise and vision for the future of AI in innovation. As we delve into the world of AI with Eric, we can expect a journey filled with fascinating insights, practical wisdom, and a glimpse into the future where technology and human ingenuity converge. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, and yeah, every time I hear that, I get a very big head because that text actually came from Microsoft Copilot. So that's what happens when you point AI at your LinkedIn profile and ask it to write a little intro for a talk or for a workshop in that case. And so that the text that you heard actually was all generated by AI, and so was the video as well. So that person, I didn't pay anyone to talk about me in those kind of words. And this is kind of put on the slide. So I also asked AI to generate a picture of myself. And if you saw me a little bit on the video before I switched my slides on, this doesn't look anything like me. So sometimes you have to be a little bit careful with AI and the outputs. So why am I here today to talk to you about AI? So I'm not a technical person, although every time I say that, people laugh. But yeah, so I'm more of a technologist, so I do understand technology and have a huge kind of interest in it, and that's what brought me to AI. So I'm French Canadian, but I live now in Ireland, so it might be a very strange accent that you hear. So that's why. When I was back in Canada like a lifetime ago, I was involved in 2 different startups at the kind of birth of the internet, where everything was aligned left and there was no images. So that's kind of showing my age there. But I had a startup that created the first online fashion magazine on the internet, and that kind of got me started with technology. Then I worked for a small search company that wasn't Google, because I probably wouldn't be standing here today if it was Google in those years. Then made the jump across to Ireland, where I served a life sentence in Microsoft, and after that I was released for good behavior. So I joined a research center that was an AI research center. So that kind of piqued my interest in AI, and that's where I kind of got my introduction to language model and the possibility. So when eventually ChatGPT came out, it was GPT-4, and I'd been working with language models since GPT-1. So for me, it was an evolution, but I was really surprised at the pace and the acceleration that it took, and the rate of adoption. So that's why I kind of got interested in language models, and then I kind of kept using the capabilities. And what I'm going to talk about today is really an experiment I started when I was in Fexco. And then, yeah, so that's kind of me in a nutshell. So let's kind of dive into what we're going to do today. So it's more of a thought experiment. So don't forget about the tools that I mentioned, because I mean, the tools landscape is changing by the day, really, in AI. At the moment, everybody's got their product.ai. So so you can actually pick a tool. So I'm playing with different tools and I'll mention a few at the end with a few links. And since I've kind of prepared that presentation, I started kind of experimenting also with different tools. So like I said, they change so quickly. So it's not about the tool, but more about the process that I followed. Um, so I'm calling it from zero to product in an hour. How can you use generative AI to actually accelerate your innovation or your product development? So I needed a starting point. When my starting point, so I decided to ask AI, how I can use AI tools to create a new product using Ash Maurya's running lean methodology. I've done Ash's workshops and very familiar with the lean canvas. So I decided to kind of push my direction towards the lean canvas. So AI kindly gave me a bunch of ideas of what I can do with AI in product development. So all the way from all the way from the problem interview to all the way to optimizing and scaling and what I can do at each stage. Don't worry, I'm not going to read all the slides. I'll be sharing them at the end. So, Zena, I'm sure you can distribute that after the talk. So I was looking at each stage and what kind of tools I can use and what I can do. And normally I don't do copy and paste directly from AI, but just again, for the thought experiment, I didn't modify many things. I just kind of copied and paste to just give you an idea of what comes out first when you prompt AI. So how come this might, sorry, the slides is not changing. There we go. So if we start with the problem and solution fit, you can use AI for generating new ideas. Language models are great to kind of linking concepts together and come up with different features or problem space. So I said, okay, let's start with that. So I've asked ChatGPT in this case. So that's the prompt that I've put. I'm looking for problem statement that could be addressed by an innovation in technology mission. So it came up with a few problem statements there, whether it's around energy efficiency, healthcare, climate change, education, kind of big kind of problem space that we could tackle. So I decided to pick healthcare and there's create new technologies that can improve patient outcomes and reduce healthcare costs, such as remote patient monitoring, wearable health trackers, and AI-assisted diagnosis. A big statement, but good starting point if you didn't know where to start. You could start with any of those, or even better, start with your own kind of set of problems and try to tackle those. So taking that a little bit further, so we have the problem space. So I decided to say, okay, you're the innovation manager and you're brainstorming the following. How might we improve patient outcomes and reduce healthcare costs? For in that case, I was fictitiously picked the HSC, and I was thankful that there was nobody from the HSC in my presentation because I was speaking on them. But yeah, so the health service executive in Ireland, and I asked for 10 product ideas that we could explore further. So again, 10 ideas there that could be applied to improve patient outcomes and reduce healthcare costs for the HSC. So I've read them all and decided, again, just for the exercise, to pick one. And that thought experiment wasn't linked to anyone in the HSC or trying to kind of solve their problem. It was really to say, if I take a kind of blue ocean thinking. I don't know anything about health. I don't know anything about the HSC, but let's see how far I can get. But I ran the same thing within Fexco when I was working for Fexco, and that's where the idea kind of came for that presentation. But for the presentation, I kind of let's go even further and pick areas that I know nothing about. So I decided to pick the patient engagement platform and start creating that. So first thing first, so I go from from ChatGPT to Microsoft Copilots because I have license for both, so I can play with both. And the rest of the tools, I usually use free licenses and try things. But so I decided to start, okay, we have an area like a problem space, we have a product ID. So next stage is kind of I need an overall kind of project plan. So I've asked ChatGPT to create a project plan for the project. So gave me a project title, an overview, and a few goals that the platform should aim to attain. So improve patient outcomes, reduce healthcare costs, patient engagement, access to care. So good starting point. There was a longer document. That's just kind of the beginning of it. And then from there, I decided, okay, well, now we have a project plan. Let's have a roadmap as well to develop this patient engagement platform. So again, that was ChatGPT and kind of divided that in 4 phases. The first one was the development and initial launch. And you mentioned, like you see there, there's implementation for personas. There's a few personas mentioned, which were actually also in the project plan. They were describing a few personas. So again, and then you can see like the KPIs that each stage should be measuring. Very high level, but for me, it kind of prompts me to kind of start thinking, okay, I need to think about these, about each phase. And so the thought experiment came more like I'm using generative AI as a tool that you can use in everyday kind of work, and how can you push it to help you to achieve what you want. So that was the roadmap. So let's start prototyping a little bit now. I have a project plan, a roadmap. I need to start kind of generating wireframes, mockups, some demos, and you can use AI to do any of that. So my first thing was that, okay, I have those personas. So I have to create the 4 personas that will be tackling or targeting with their system. So again, sorry, it was the Ireland Health Executive, so they're all very Irish names. So we have Mary O'Sullivan, who's 68 and a retired school teacher from rural Cork. John Byrne, a software developer in Dublin. Aisling Murphy, who's a small business owner in Galway, and Liam Ryan. So, but you can see they all structured the same way. They have like the occupation, location, health status, background, goals, challenges. And again, that's literally copy paste directly from ChatGPT. So I just kind of made it a little bit prettier. So I decided to do kind of a persona card there. And so I have here an example of Mary O'Sullivan. And again, it's the same text, but I decided to create a picture in ChatGPT that represent Mary O'Sullivan just so we can associate her with the persona. So sometimes you have to be a little bit careful with the output of AI. So I've asked, like I've done the same exercise with both ChatGPT and Copilot. In the case of images, you can see on the left what with the same prompt to create a photo that represents Mary Sullivan, 68, retired teacher from rural County Cork. ChatGPT gave me the result on the left and Copilot the one on the right. So unless ChatGPT knows the secret to eternal youth, I would say that probably the picture on the right is more representative of my persona. And again, that's just to highlight kind of don't always take for granted what generative AI gives you as kind of the source of truth. So then actually for generating images, I usually now use Midjourney as well, which are more photorealistic. So there's another tool that you can use. Again, John Byrne, I get ChatGPT to give a picture and I put that in a personal card that we can use when we develop the product. So now you have your personas, you have your product plan and roadmap. So let's move like building like your MVP. And again, you can use ChatGPT or not ChatGPT, but generative AI to generate all of your kind of MVP user guides, content really quickly. So the first thing I did is kind of create a first mockup using a tool called wizard.io. And again, that's working solely with text. So I entered the prompt there, based on my product plan. And I said, okay, create the patient engagement platform. And that's the kind of first screens that came up with it. So you have your medical record, stats, heart rate, health updates, your health team that you can contact. So it gives you kind of ideas of direction you can take with your product. So once you kind of have an idea what direction, you can ask another tool called Mixo. Mixo.io would create, that's the prompt I've put, just create a platform that can improve patient outcomes, as we've seen in the previous slides. So on the right, it generates a website where you can straight away start capturing email address, register interest, so you can assess, is there interest in the market for my product? And again, that's the free version, so I couldn't modify the homepage or the pictures or the branding, but you could actually, if you pay like the subscription fee, you can actually create a full working website with your own domain URL and customize the pictures and the quotes. Like it even generates fake customer quotes there, so you can really be up and running and have kind of a home page for your product that kind of just test the market for interest and see if you can get enough interest, so if it's worth actually developing something. So far I really haven't spent much to start gathering interest. Another tool that I've used, then once kind of say, okay, there seems to be a lot of interest. We've gathered like 200-300 emails of potential customers. Maybe it's time to start kind of building something a little bit more concrete. So I'm very familiar with Figma to design kind of apps and websites. So there's an add-on to Figma that's called Cosia. And again, straight from a text prompt, you say, okay, build me a platform that does the same prompt as the website we've created. And then you can see it created kind of another layout for my platform, even give it a name called Health Service Executive there in that case. Few images. And so I can start with the layout. I can go to my UX team, say, oh sorry, that's something like that I want to build. You can even put your own text there and kind of have something to start from. Another tool, use Galileo. Again, it's a similar to the other two. So you just, from the text, you can create screens really quickly for an app. And in that case, you can see that that's from really a paragraph of text, and it created a couple of screen that the app could have. So you have your welcome with your health metrics. You can schedule an appointment with your GP, track your medication, track your health over time. And all those concepts really came just from my simple prompt of saying that I'm creating a platform to engage with patients and reduce costs in healthcare. Again, ideas, but ideas that you can actually start developing going forward. So I mentioned, like, once you have those screens, you can work with your UX team. Another thing that UX professional do is kind of they set up like a project style or a style guide for your brand or for your product. So you could actually ask ChatGPT to create the full brand guidelines for what you're doing and bring that then to your UX team who actually know what they're doing and actually can help you then kind of fine tune. But it fast tracks that kind of conversation where you don't have to ask them to develop that before you actually go to them. You can go to them with ideas and kind of things that you've kind of researched and tried. You can go get the output of those visually and see what, okay, that'll look like something that we should work towards. Again, copy and paste directly, but you can even have the conversation with ChatGPT. Oh, I don't like orange. Can you kind of suggest other colors? And you can upload your logo. You can start making it a lot more customized to your own organization. In that case, I was just copying and pasting elements. But one thing to mention is that all those ideas in that is in the same conversation in ChatGPT because it remembers what it suggested and worked on. it makes that you don't have to recreate everything every time. So by keeping everything in one conversation, it keeps all of that in the same space and keeps learning from your tweak and your like the more you tweak your prompts and ask for changes, they will remember those and give you those in the answers as well. So then once you have kind of a product developed, like you need to kind of survey your customer and try to see is there kind of what are their real needs and expectation, because so far it's all AI generated. Um, so so I decided to ask ChatGPT to create, actually that was Copilot, sorry, Microsoft Copilot to create a survey for discovering the needs and expectation of my personas. And it came up with that, again, copy and paste. So you have your demographic information, health conditions, how familiar they are with technology, what they expect from such a platform, and then kind of feedback and suggestions. So again, normally in my daily job, I wouldn't just copy and paste that in a survey tool. I would tweak it to match, but you can see really quickly like it's very tailored to a patient engagement platform, and it probably tracks most of the items that I would have asked potential users. So I can start entering that then in a Survey Monkey or something like that, Microsoft Forms or any other survey tools that you use to actually get real people's input into your product. You can also use AI to look at market trends, look at the competitive landscape, look at reports. Generative AI is great at summarizing information. So if you have like Gartner, Deloitte, like EY, all the big consultancy, they have loads of reports in different industry. You could actually get generative AI to digest those and summarize them and maybe look at various trends in that. So I did just that then. I asked ChatGPT, Copilot here, you are the product manager working on the Below project. So I've asked it to identify 5 um, competitive products and perform a SWOT analysis for them. So on the right, you see the results. Actually, it put it in a table for me as well because I've asked it in a tabular format. So there's 5 here, 5 platforms with their strengths, weaknesses, the opportunities and threats, and then gaps and innovation opportunities for ourselves. So actually, I did also a quick research after that because I wanted to make sure that these 5 were actually real companies, and they are. What I like about Copilot is usually gives you sources. You don't see it there, but it would give you at the end of that prompt where it got that information, so you could actually go and research those companies and make sure that they are actually real, because sometimes it might sound really convincing, but Gen AI is known to sometimes make false things really convincing. So what's they call it, hallucination. It's getting better though, because now you can in ChatGPT, if you have the paid license or Copilot, you see that it's sources, so you can actually track back the information and making sure that it's actually real information or real product in that case. So looking at the next phase of my product, then I say, okay, let's look at what are the trends in telehealth and patient engagement platform. And again, it gave me what are the major trends. And you can see like all those links are actually real links to real documents that either research documents or newspaper articles, so you can track back that information, and it gives you kind of some areas, like some trends in the field or in the space that you can kind of start tackling as well with your product. Same thing, ask about customer behaviors, and then here's what it told me back. So it around management, value-based, digital pharmacy, care transition. They're all kind of behaviors that the patients are looking for in a patient engagement platform. So now I'm ready to kind of scale and grow because I've super defined product now. It's ready to be released. So what's the next step? So Um, so yeah, so the next step really is when you get user feedback, recommendation, you can use generative AI kind of to start tailoring those experience and looking at all the feedback or all that came back from your survey and kind of analyze that and give you kind of what are the feature sets that the customers are, the real people are really looking for. And since I started with Ashmorea's methodology, I decided to push it a little bit further and ask ChatGPT to to generate a lean canvas for my idea. And I just put it, I did have the template. So I actually, all those themes came up in the prompt, but I just copied and pasted in the template to make it look like a canvas. But that's, again, without having done much work, I got really kind of a good document that I can socialize to see if there's interest and generate kind of uh, a proof of concept then from all of that. So in conclusion, really, like one thing I always say to people is AI is not intelligent. You have to be intelligent how to use it. Actually, we usually refer to it as augmented intelligence instead of artificial intelligence because you can use it to augment your productivity and your creativity. Because again, AI creativity is limited by your input, and it's limited. The human mind, I see it as limitless creativity. So for me, nothing is as impactful as talking to real people. So I'm using AI to accelerate my creative, like my creation process, my kind of my research, and validate some of the ideas I'm working on. And then that frees up loads of time that we can use to actually talk to real users. Sorry, wrong button. So I mentioned a few tools during the presentation. So I've listed them here, like from the ChatGPT and Copilot, Midjourney for image generation. There's even a tool now that's called idgenerator.ai. You can ask it to generate ideas about more or less anything. So Mixo is generating the kind of the home page or landing page for your product really quickly. There's actually a lean canvas tool that will actually take your plan and translate it directly into a lean canvas. And then the other tools, Jasper, I didn't show, but Jasper is a marketing tool. So it would take your product brand and kind of create all sort of marketing materials from like tweets and LinkedIn posts and all that, all generated by AI. And if you want to know kind of further about how you can use the AI in innovation, Board of Innovation, if you're familiar with them, have their own AI tools. I wasn't overly impressed. I've tried some of them, but they have something that they call an AI design sprint. And I thought the method was quite interesting because they were using kind of known AI tools to kind of do a design sprint. If you're more into kind of UX side of things, the Nielsen Norman Group have loads of articles around AI and UX, which are really interesting. And then from an academic perspective, there's that whole experiment that I ran actually was also done in parallel, which I didn't realize until they published a paper, but it validated my thinking, is that there's an HBR in it, Harvard Business Review article on using generative AI in kind of the product development and the kind of in the workspace, in the workplace. Very short read, but very interesting. So I've put the link to the PDF there. And then if you follow Bob Cooper from kind of the new product framework, new product development framework, he's switches attention to AI and how can you use AI in kind of the NPD process, which is very interesting. He's got a lot of interesting pieces that he wrote, more or less validating again that type of work, how you can fast track innovation and use kind of time saving to kind of talk to people and yeah. So that's it for the presentation side, and usually then there's loads of questions and comments that follows that pieces. And I don't see the chat at the moment, so I'm just going to bring it up, see if there's anything there, or maybe Zena, if you have
Yeah, that
any.
There is one question in the chat, and please do either feel free to put your hands up or just unmute or write in chat any which way that you want to ask any questions or make any comments. But we did have one around copyright, particularly for pictures when you're generating it through AI. Where does it stand in terms of copyright?
So there's a big debate around that, and I use Midjourney to generate images and pictures. Midjourney is probably the one that's the most controversial because it was trained with existing material, and there's a lot of creators that are kind of pushing back on on those copyrights. ChatGPT and Copilot are more kind of cartoony and kind of the image produced are less kind of borrowed from existing styles. Let's say put that away. But you could also prompt it to say, okay, can I have my persona done in the style of Dali, for example, and it would kind of create something that might be Dali style, but it's your prompt, it's your kind of idea, and the style is there. But any painter could do a style of Dali if they wanted to, I guess. But yeah, the copyright piece is one that's hard to kind of avoid, even in the text, because you could argue the whole large language model have been trained on existing materials that people have written and not necessarily consented on giving authorization to use, but it's built in now. You can't, so like I said, the genie's out of the box, so you have to kind of start from there, and I think give the thoughts around, okay, how can we tackle that? So when I put an image, I usually just say the source and the prompt that generated it. So I don't take any credit for creating the image because it's not me. It's just based on my prompt and a tool. So that's how I tackle copyright. And I try to avoid saying in the style of X, Y, or Z, which kind of would probably infringe on a few little copyrights there.
Right, thank you. Lindsay, you got your hand up.
I couldn't get myself off mute there. Eric, thank you so much. Really fascinating presentation. So I'm Lindsay McLean and I work in the health service in England. And my job is looking at remote monitoring for patients out in the community. So that was fab. You could have saved me the last 3 years of my working life, I think, in the space of a couple of hours. So I think I'm happy about that. I'm not sure. I need to go and have a little think about that one. I found the bit at the start really interesting around your project kind of process around your defining your problem, creating your plans, because I think that's the work that can take quite a bit of time that I spend a lot of time on without then going to speak to my users, speak to my clinicians, etc. So that bit for me was really, really interesting, and I will dive a little bit deeper into that bit because I've not thought about that bit from an AI perspective. But thank you so much. I won't mark your homework, please don't worry. It was a brilliant presentation. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Lindsay. And actually, that's something I haven't mentioned, but when I run workshops, I usually, like on the screen, would bring, like if I feel like the conversation is stagnating a bit, I'd bring ChatGPT and kind of prompt like either what's on the whiteboard, like how might we tackle X, Y, or Z, and get it to generate a few ideas, and then people start reading, and it kind of respark the conversation, and so I would use it that way. Just to again, it's an accelerator really, and that's what I would do.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? I think we put in the kind of blurb for this that there are no stupid questions. So if you're thinking something and you think, oh no, I'm too embarrassed to ask that, please do ask it. This is your opportunity to ask any questions you want around this. And I know many of you are engaging in using AI within the workplace. So if you want to put your hand up and say how you're using it too, then feel free.
One of the questions I get asked many times, and I'm surprised it hasn't come up yet, but I'm sure someone is probably thinking about it, is will AI replace me, or will AI replace my work? And I always say, like, it will probably shift some of the work around. The there might be displacement, but I don't think it will take your place. But what I will usually say is that someone who knows how to use AI will probably take your place if you don't upscale and kind of stay on top of it. So so now is a good start. Like, you already educated yourself a little bit on what you can do, but it's definitely that, like, start by experimenting, try the free tools, or look at the tools that your organization probably has. If your organization is on Microsoft 365, the chances that you have access to Copilot and start experimenting with that, it would be a good starting point. Especially one of the question that usually come up is around leaks and kind of sharing information. So you don't want people to upload their, like, private organizations documents into ChatGPT. And to me, that's a call to organization to open up those tools for employees. So get a corporate license of Copilot or ChatGPT, or because the corporate license will, like, kind of keep those documents internally. They won't be used to train the models, so they won't leak out into. But if you don't open those tools, employees will find a way. Even if you can't access them from the corporate network, everybody has a phone, and now it's just as simple as taking a picture of a document, and it will do all the character recognition, transfer that into text, analyze it, and gives you answers. So so if the more that the companies are restrictive, I think the more open they are to leaks and kind of getting their sources up in the public domain, where if they open up those tools and have the proper license in place, they usually build on safety around that. And
Do you have a favorite tool, or do you think that they're just the different tools are better for different things?
I think some of the tools are better for different things. Because I've paid the license for ChatGPT and I started training my own kind of GPT agent in it, I kind of tend to veer towards that. I don't know if any of you use Revolut, but you realize that with Revolut, you can get loads of free subscription on things. So I got the Perplexity account, which is another AI tool that actually use models from ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Claude. So it kind of merges all the models, and depending on what you request, it will use. So I started playing with that last week. So that the presentation is now updated for that, but I find it quite useful. So Perplexity might be my new favorite one. But again, I spend a lot of time training ChatGPT on what I do. So even with my own writing style, and so I can get it to generate texts that are kind of with my ideas, but I don't have to write the full article. I kind of just co-edit with alongside ChatGPT. So, but I might start looking into training Perplexity. So I find it kind of quite good as well. Midjourney for images, yeah, I like what Midjourney does. It's very creative, I think. But yeah, there's always that copyright question that comes up with Midjourney. So I kind of use it more for myself and kind of try to be careful around copywriting and things like that.
Yeah. No, I love the concept of training your AI to kind of know your style and the type of things you want. I think, yeah, that's great. And like you say, I guess it's only as good as what you feed into it. So getting better questions we ask it, I
And
think is
ultimately,
probably key.
it's going to be another tool in your tool set. I mean, there's grammar checker and spell checker in Word. Do people write better because of that? You could question that one. So it's the same with AI. So it's how you use it and what you use it for that really will make you stand out or not.
There's a comment in the chat. How cool to generate a robotic employee take the human tasks in work.
Yeah. Yeah, the switch around. Actually, just the last comment that you were mentioning about kind of developing things, and there's another tool I started playing with called v0.dev, I think, and you can actually ask it to develop a full application, and it will develop the code alongside, so you can take that to your developer, and they can start from something that has code in it and kind of directly. And there's another tool I just got the demo of yesterday called Manus.ai, Manus. I don't have access to the tool because there's a wait list, but it looks very promising into kind of developing application. And so, like I said, the landscapes change so quickly that it's hard to stay on top and stay current. So it's more about the process of what you use it for, and like I just showed today.
Do you think it will continue to be an ever fragmenting market with new tools coming online all the time, or do you think, like so many other things, it will consolidate back to?
I think it'll eventually consolidate and kind of even become a lot more invisible, as in it's going to be part of your kind of workflow, and you won't even think that you're like, oh yeah, I must go to ChatGPT or I must go to this or that. I mean, you see it already in Word with Copilot and Excel. Like you can ask question about your spreadsheet in words, and it'll give you insights in words rather than numbers, so you can understand better your data. So it will become embedded in what you do rather than being a different tool.
Yeah. Thank you. Unless there's any last questions, I think as we're almost at 2:45, we'll pull the session to the close. Unless there's any final comments or words of wisdom, Eric, from you to get us all started or embedded in this journey.
I think it's just try it. Just you won't break anything. Maybe rules, but that's a different debate. But no, I mean, if you look at either try it personally for your own things, or if your organization has licenses for tools, you try them. If you're in a UX department, a lot of the UX tools have that embedded in them now as well. So you can start playing with what you have before going any further. But yeah, just educate yourself around AI, because I think it's there to stay.
Fabulous. That is a great last statement. Thank you so much for giving your time, and thank you all for joining us today as well. So
thanks for the invite,
yeah,
Zena.
thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.